Hello and welcome to Beyond the Paradigm. My guest today is a returning guest, a UFO researcher of over 60 years, Norio Hayakawa. If you do enjoy this episode, can I first of all ask you to give it a like? And if you enjoy this type of content, please subscribe to the channel. Well, for the second time on Beyond the Paradigm, it is a real pleasure, Norio, to welcome you back. So thank you for joining me again.
Thank you so much, Paul, for having me on your show again. I sure appreciate this, and I'm excited always to be on your show.
Yeah, no, it was a great episode last time. A lot of good feedback from listeners, and one of the comments that stuck out to me was regarding that they knew you was a genuine person, very humble, and I would agree with that. And anyone that's not listened to that first episode with Norio, definitely well worth listening to. Norio is a UFO researcher. How many years is it, Norio, now you've been researching?
Well, I've been researching this strange phenomena called the UFO phenomena since around 1961. So that's more than
Yeah.
definitely 60 years.
Yeah. So, so Norio, yeah, you've got more time in this sort of research field than many people, and I've had other researchers on the show. But one thing that stands out for me is you are sincere and you are genuine, and you definitely want to get to the truth of this, like I do. And unfortunately, in this sort of field, you have a lot of people who are sensationalist and seem to be in it for themselves, as I would imagine you're well aware of with some of the people you've met over the years. Some of the bigger names that are sort of well known in this field, particularly over there in the United States. But a lot of people, in my opinion, are sensationalizing things because they know that that sort of sells and people, I suppose there's people out there that want to believe. I'm more just want to know what we're dealing with. But the last time we spoke, like there was quite a few things that I didn't get to talk to you about, and like we were just having a little chat there before we went on air. I don't know if any of my listeners are familiar. Many of you will be, some may not. There's a documentary on Netflix entitled American Conspiracy: The Octopus Murders, and it is a fascinating documentary. And it's basically regarding the murder of an investigative journalist, Danny Casolaro. But you've got some sort of link really to this documentary because you've come across some of these people, haven't you, that are actually involved in this?
That's true. I was quite impressed with that documentary, American Conspiracy. It was well made, and it just captivated the attention of so many people. And it was a realistic program because it was based on facts. And we still don't know the full story of the entire octopus conspiracy. But the fact is that mm, they many of the personalities involved were real persons, and so personally, I became involved somewhat in this octopus conspiracy because in 1992, I believe in 1992, that was when I organized a large group of UFO and conspiracy enthusiasts, and we held a large meeting in Southern California. And at that time, I was, I was just so interested in this intrigue. And so, uh, right around the time of the conference, I came to know some key personalities, such as Ted Gunderson, who was the former FBI agent in charge of Los Angeles. And Ted Gunderson, by the way, was the instrumental FBI agent who successfully, kept 1984 Los Angeles Olympics, in a very safe manner. But then, of course, later on, he retired and he became a researcher of real conspiracies. And so by the time we held the a seminar in Southern California in 1992, I was familiar with Ted Gunderson and I became his friend. So he was instrumental in helping us organize this Need to Know seminar in which uh, the very mysterious group called the Wackenhut Corporation was the main topic. In fact, that conference was organized by an individual named Mr. Mike. And he was allegedly a person that started talking about a group called Com 12. But anyway, this conference was successful because among the participants in this conference was several key figures of the Wackenhut Corporation. Even though the conference was to expose the Wackenhut Corporation, several high-level people from Wackenhut came. Maybe they came to observe what we were doing, but anyway, one of the participants who came to the conference was a former arms merchant named Robert Booth Nichols, who many people still suspect, even today, that may have played a major role in the death of Danny Casolaro. So, yeah, through the connection with Ted Gunderson, the FBI agent, retired, I came to know a lot of people. In fact, one of the key personnel in this whole Octopus Conspiracy, or the American Conspiracy, was a scientist by the name of Michael Riconosciuto, a strange character whose whereabouts at this time is not certain, but he was allegedly released from prison several years ago, and we don't know where he is actually, but just around 1992, I had spoken briefly, or rather, I was introduced to the wife of Michael Riconosciuto, and Michael Riconosciuto's wife happened to attend a UFO conference that I organized in Orange County sometime in the early 1992, I think, from what I remember. So, yeah, in this sense, I'm still just wondering what happened to this strange organization, the Wackenhut Corporation, which was a large corporation in the 1990s that was in charge of security at sensitive locations such as Area 51 in Nevada and many other military installations. Wackenhut Corporation was a private company that was assigned to take care of security because of their private group. They were not bound by certain things. So many military installations in America decided to hire the uh, well decided to hire semi-private security corporations. And this is, I would say, somewhat logical thing to do.
Hmm. Yeah, they can distance themselves, can't they? The government, that's the thing. If it's a private company, they can, if anything untoward goes on, they can sort of say, well, it's a private company. It's not really anything to do with us. We've contracted it out and left them to sort of run things, if you will.
And I think that the Wackenhut Corporation or Wackenhut Special Security Group, I think right now is involved in conducting private prisons in many places in the United States and probably overseas as well. Private prisons, that's a big business right now.
Mm. Yeah. I used to work in prison service, but it was for the HMP, so His Majesty's Prison Service. But they have a number of private prisons over here, and like you said, it's big money. They don't work. They don't work because these companies are just seeking to make money. Now, Ted Gunderson, like you said, you were sort of friends with him. I listened to a while back. It was an old recording where he's talking about basically sort of child trafficking and the children are trafficked for various reasons, including obviously sexual exploitation, but also child sacrifice. Did he ever mention anything like this to you?
Actually, a lot of people knew about that because Ted Gunderson investigated a lot of those kinds of strange events. Especially there's a place in California called Manhattan Beach, but there were some kind of allegations that some private businesses were involved with, such heinous project involving children. And so other people have also written books about this, but those were one of the things that Ted Gunderson was heavily investigating at that time, So I'm not a specialist on that,
No.
but uh, Ted Gunderson was a very instrumental person because at first he was not a believer in conspiracies, but after he retired, he investigated some of these claims, and later on, he became a tremendous advocate of, investigations into strange groups that were damaging people, and so later on, Ted Gunderson became an activist, and he participated in many of the activities where former colleague of mine called Anthony J. Hilder was involved. And so Anthony J. Hilder and I did a lot of things together with Ted Gunderson, even having the People's Rally at Area 51 in 1998. And Ted Gunderson himself attended the People's Rally, which I organized in order to confront the the United States government to admit the existence of Area 51, not just you know uh, you know you know unknown facility on the Groom Lake in Nevada. So we succeeded in many ways because we addressed the issues of the former workers at Area 51 who were injured when they came in touch with toxic chemical substance in the late 1980s and into the early 1990s. So many of the workers at Area 51 died because of these illnesses, because apparently the authorities at places like Area 51 was using toxic chemical substances while they were working on stealth technology, late 1980s to 1990s. So that was the main reason for having this unprecedented People's Rally in 1998, right at the limits of Area 51 boundary. About 250 people showed up at the rally, including Ted Gunson and, of course, Anthony J. Hilder. And, of course, both of these persons are now gone. Anthony J. Hilder had a stroke just a few years ago, and he's no longer with us. And, of course, Ted Gunson passed away also. So, we're left with very few of the original people that were involved in all of this. So I am kind of fortunate now that I'm still, I'm doing well and I'm surviving all these things. And of course, people like us are getting older and older, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm still healthy and I still live here in the state of New Mexico where I reside right now. Still investigating the claims of, secrecy. Especially where I live in Albuquerque, the home of Kirtland Air Force Base and the home of a large nuclear storage facility inside the Kirtland Air Force Base. So these are issues that really still are very realistic. And of course, I'm a person that is based on science. I'm not just a person that believes in anything. I basically believe in scientific methodology, even in the field of ufology. My main interest is in, promoting the scientific attitude towards things. For example, I believe that the government, the Air Force, for example, has been using a lot of, scientific equipment and, developing lots of the scientific methodologies and creating a lot of, weapon systems. And I'm not against weapon systems because many of these weapon systems are, basically for protection of citizens from, for example, foreign adversaries and so on. So I'm all for scientific approaches, but yet my belief is that not everything can be explained by science. And so this is where my involvement in ufology comes in, because I believe that there's more to materialistic things and materialistic approach to finding the truth. And you just can't rely on science alone because there are many things in this world that exist that we cannot see. And so that's my basic, position even now.
Yeah.
But you bringing up this, the Danny Casolaro, the Octopus, the American Conspiracy, these are real things, real issues. And as I said, some of the things involving the American conspiracies are locations involving Native American Indian reservations. For example, the Cabazon Indian Reservation, in Southern California, is where scientists like Michael Riconosciuto helped develop, you know, explosives, new kinds of explosives. And so many of these, you know, weapons programs are conducted in, strangely, in Native American lands. And so that's one of the subtopic of this American conspiracy documentary.
Yeah. I mean, the actual, for those who haven't seen the documentary, it's well worth watching. And basically, Danny Casolaro was investigating, was it in Inslaw and this software, this Promise software, the software was like a case management software developed by this company called Inslaw, and then he started looking into sort of things to do with contract disputes, I believe it is, and ultimately it led him sort of down different rabbit holes, didn't it? That could have it led him to all kinds of things, which is why it's called the Octopus Murders, and ultimately he ended up being killed. I mean, obviously they tried to say that he'd killed himself, didn't they?
Right. So this conspiracy is still just a mystery and still unsolved. Uh, but there is a dark web of, uh, entities, the human entities, of course, that are involved in just hideous things, experiments. And, you know, Michael Riconosciuto was a real scientist. He was very smart and he knew a lot of things. And he even mentioned one time that there's something going on in places like New Mexico in an Indian reservation called Dulce Indian,
Hmm.
Indian reservation, the Hickory Apache Indian reservation. And he even was aware that something was going on in the community of Dulce already in the early 1990s. So, this Oct- Octopus Conspiracy stretch so much, and it is really a huge tentacle of mysteries that is still going around. And some of these conspiracies have changed their names, and some of the organizations have, changed names. And that's how these organizations survive by morphing into other names and involving other agencies. So it's still there. It's still there. And so, it's endless, but we have to do something about it, even though it's impossible to get to the bottom of these things.
Yeah. I mean, as I remember from watching it, this Robert Booth Nichols, he was sort of possibly involved in Danny Casolaro's death, but then ultimately he was found dead, I think, in 2009 in mysterious circumstances as well.
So, people keep disappearing, or you don't hear from these people. Um, like I said, um, this scientist by the name of Michael Riconosciuto, uh, he was released from a Lompoc, California prison, but the circumstances of his release was very mysterious. Some people say that he was released, uh, you know, on purpose to, either to protect him for some reason or other. We don't know. We don't know these things. But, I will never forget this kind of connection, uh, you know, uh, to all these personalities. And, and then somehow UFOs may play a partial role in some of the ideas presented in this kind of, cover-ups.
Mm.
So that's where I'm interested. I'm interested in all these realistic conspiracies, but some of these conspiracies extend into things that we still don't know too much about, and the government still don't know too much about, and that involves the UFO phenomena. And some of the UFO phenomena could be artificially induced, and so we just don't know for sure. Even right now, uh, for example, persons like Donald Trump expressed interest in UFOs many times, but yet um, he hasn't come up with any tangible things. Even personalities such as Elon Musk, who is into science and technology, he himself hasn't made any clear statements about uh, the UFO phenomena. In fact, he seems like he is very um, skeptical about extraterrestrial phenomena. So that's what he said even a few months ago, that he's skeptical about this. Yet, well, he's trained in science and so on, but there are still things that the government cannot take hold of concretely as far as evidences are concerned. So, you know, despite the congressional hearings on UFOs, nothing has shown up as far as tangible evidence. We haven't seen any tangible evidence of any artifact yet, but many so-called uh, moles or so-called informants, alleged informants, come out claiming that they are part of this governmental group that is investigating UFOs, and that they're convinced that the government is hiding some artifacts.
Mhm.
Despite these claims, we haven't seen anything solid yet. But that doesn't mean that you know, there aren't any of these mysteries around because I believe that there are still mysteries around, and so I keep searching all of this, and living right here in New Mexico is a blessing, because New Mexico itself is a location of high uh, military experiments and important location.
Yeah.
So Yes,
Yeah,
no
I mean,
question.
New Mexico. It's like obviously I was just going to ask you there. What's your take on the Roswell incident?
That took place allegedly in 1947. And, 1947, I think I've spoken with you before about the significance of 1947.
Hmm.
And I came to the conclusion that 1947 is the beginning of the modern day uh, brainwashing system to familiarize us with the so-called alien presence. And so whatever happened in 1947 in Roswell is still up in the air. I haven't seen any concrete evidence that the Roswell incident had anything to do with the alien, flying saucers crashing. There's no evidence for it, and but yet there's plenty of evidence that there was an incident in 1947. There were several incidents in 1947 involving, uh, strange incidents of something crashing. And
Yeah.
but you know, it's most likely that yeah, it could have been our technology, our experiment in some high altitude reconnaissance equipment that was kept quiet at that time. So it could have been staged that way either by the government, or if one is to believe in extra-dimensional intelligence, maybe it may have been staged on purpose by those extra-dimensional entities on purpose to condition us to believing in the so-called alien presence. So we still don't know. We still don't know for sure. But 1947 is the modern day beginning of the belief and acclimatization of the belief in alien presence for some strange reason or other. Yeah.
Mm.
Of course, we all know that from time immemorial, people have uh, reported seeing strange things flying in the air, and this was not new. But I'm talking about the modern day era. Actually, seem to have begun around 1947. It-
Mm.
the very the very year that CIA was created, the very same year that National Security Agency was created, and the Air Force was created in 1947. So yes, it's still mysterious. It's still up in the air. But I've been to Roswell. I know a lot of people in Roswell, but I haven't seen anything so far. But rather than Roswell, where nothing is happening except for a yearly lunacy called the Roswell Alien Festival, which is simply a money-making effort by the city of Roswell. But doesn't that does not mean that there are unexplainable things that happens or happened in New Mexico elsewhere in New
Mm.
Mexico. For example, in Farmington, New Mexico in 1950, hundreds of people witnessed flight of hundreds of metallic objects in March of 1950, Farmington, New Mexico, and this is known as the, you know, amazing sighting of hundreds of metallic flying saucers over the town of Farmington. And it's people don't talk about it because most people haven't heard about it. But I know about it because I was there, and I interviewed some people who witnessed that incident in 1950. But other than Farmington, there are others still fantastic, amazing, fantastically intriguing places such as northern New Mexico, especially in the Hickory Apache Indian Reservation, uh, known for the main community of Dulce, where even today people are reporting sightings of strange military helicopters and strange objects at night, and even encountering strange entities at night, and whether these things are physical or paraphysical, we don't know. But there are too many reports of this, even ongoing even now. So, yeah, I am not a debunker of the claims of these local peoples who continue to see these things. So, that is something that I will never stop investigating, even today. But I'm just as confused as anybody because I like to get to the bottom of these things, but there are just some things that cannot be explained by Newtonian science or scientific methods. And so, yeah, that's where I am even right now.
I think there's a definite conditioning process going on. Um, I mean, a lot of the guys I speak to and I've interviewed previously, they're sort of believe that the UFO phenomena is like a nuts and bolts, nuts and bolts craft and aliens and this and that. Well, that's not my belief. I believe it's part of a greater deception. Obviously, we know there is fallen evil entities, what we call fallen angels, and obviously their leader is commonly referred to as Satan or the devil. But I wanted to just sort of talk a little bit about Project Bluebeam because this is an interesting theory that's, I think it was propagated by Serge Monest. Um, Basically, Project Bluebeam, the plan to implement a new world order and a new religion by means of technology. And apparently, the plan has 4 steps, and a lot of people believe that we're in the middle of the third step of this plan. I mean, I'll just for those people who don't know what Project Bluebeam is, I'll just quickly read some of these steps. So, step one: break down all archaeological knowledge by means of artificially created earthquakes. Fake discoveries of artifacts and archaeological findings to discredit all fundamental world religions and doctrines. Using Hollywood movies to construct a psychological groundwork that makes people question the origins of the world and humanity. Preparing and educating people via movies, television about the possibilities of a space alien invasion, and movies such as 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Star Trek series, Star Wars movies, movies like Jurassic Park, to deal with the theories of evolution. Basically, they're saying that this step one is to destroy the beliefs of all Christians and also Muslims, actually, it says. Step two is a gigantic space show using 3D optical holograms, space based lasers generating satellites, projecting holographic images beamed across the sky. These projections are different in various parts of the world. The sky projections will be accordingly to regional, national, religious faith. A new Messiah or God will be shown in the sky. Speak to everyone in their own language. The appearance of a new Messiah results in holy wars. In step two, the New World Order will claim the holographic images to be proof of their new religion. Step three, telepathic two-way electronic thought control and telephonic communication devices sending waves to people's own mind, convincing each other that their God is speaking to them through their own soul. AI data transferred via rays from satellites. This data is fed from memories of computers that have stored massive data about every person on Earth, including their languages. Diffuse artificial thought. These satellite data rays assimilate with the natural thoughts of each person. And then step 4, supernatural manifestation by electronic means in various aspects. The holographic projections continue to simulate phenomena and strange happenings to reinforce people's faith in the new universal religion. A holographic simulation by the United Nations of a hostile invasion of malevolent aliens, provoking nations to use nuclear weapons against the hostile aliens. A combination of electric stage phenomena and supernatural forces to drive people into mass hysteria, suicide, murder, and permanent psychological disorders. Keep people in fear, make them believe that the New World Order is the only protection against the hostile invaders. So that's the different steps. I mean, what's your take on this theory regarding Project Bluebeam?
Yeah, when Paul, when the idea of Project Bluebeam first came out in around 1993 by this Canadian journalist by the name of Serge Monast. And by the way, I did correspond both in 1993 and 1994 with Serge Monast because at that time I wasn't aware of who he was. But
Mm.
later on, I found out that he was the originator of this. At that time, it sounded like too far out theory, but it's not far out right now because we have a lot of technologies that he was talking about. And so, it's not a far out thing. You mentioned about artificial intelligence, the AI, and so these technologies like holographic, projection devices and use of electronic, waves and so on, and to control the minds. These are not outlandish theories. So at first, in 1993 and 1994, when people began talking about Serge Monast and the alleged NASA's Project Blue Beam project, I was kind of hesitant to go along with that theory, but by and by, as the years went by, I became convinced that it's not a far out theory. And whether or not it's officially under NASA, I still have question, but I'm not surprised if this kind of technology can be used anytime, especially when the world is in such a chaotic condition. The world is, to me, right now, if you look at this world in 2025, this is such a disorganized the world we're living in. Economically, socially, politically, you name it. It's just such a disorganized chaos, and of course, you know Project Bluebeam and this kind of idea that the only way to create some kind of normalcy is to create an artificial threat from outside, so real or apparently sounding real that people will accept it. And so I'm not surprised that at this moment in time that Project Bluebeam's ideas and its relevance is, it's just it seems like it's plausible. It's plausible. By the way, Paul, I was shocked in 1996, when I heard on the news that Serge Monast had a heart attack at his home.
Mm.
And, to me, it still is a mystery. And there's a lot of mystery about the circumstances of his death at home. Because I believe that, somebody told me that before Sergio Monast had a heart attack at home, 1996, he had to spend a time in jail for some reason. I don't know. He was arrested, but then he
Yeah.
was released and then released to his home, and then that's when he had a massive heart attack. And sometimes I question about, you know, it still has have in mind my mind that he died of mysterious circumstances. But we're living right now in 2025, and I did hear from a lot of people that who says that by the end of this year, we will be able to know more about projects like strange projects that allegedly are going on at certain locations like Area 51.
Mm.
Because I have a friend who is an aerospace, investigator, aerospace, historian by the name of Jim Goodall, and he said in 1983 that we don't know at that time. He said that we don't know too much about the real purpose of Area 51, but we will know it in 2025. That's what he said in 1983. I have the video footage of him saying uh, that he had some aerospace connection folks who say that in 2025 we will know more about Area 51. A lot of things will be revealed. So, even though people say that kind of things every year, usually nothing happens, but you never know because there's something strange about this year, especially the direction that we're going into right now. So anything is possible. But the idea of Serge Monast's Project Bluebeam doesn't sound like science fiction to me. We do have a lot of technology that's already plausible to, be effectively, produce this kind of scenario.
Yeah.
And as I said, I think I said before in your program that people like Ronald Reagan and even Gorbachev had mentioned that the best way to create a forced unity in this world is to create an external threat, such as alien threat, whether it's real or not. That's what they said. Whether it's real or not, some kind of an external threat could be effective in creating a one world system if that time comes. And uh, Even Henry Kissinger, I believe, said that kind of a thing. And that's why. So I am always open to anything,
Mm.
even though we can't see the future. We can see the tendencies. At least we can see the tendencies, and it's not a good direction to me that's going on in the world right now. So I don't know. Maybe things will happen that will necessitate the creation of an external threat, even possibly sometimes by the end of this year. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of like technology, if people think like what I read out them steps are far fetched. I mean, I'm not saying that the true, but they're not far fetched. And I'm just reading here about some scientist at the University of Washington. I think this is from a few years ago, but Carnegie Mellon University created a brain-to-brain interface system that allows one or more people called senders to influence the decisions of an individual called a receiver, with the goal of helping the receiver play a Tetris-like game that only the senders can see. So these are some of the things that they're like looking into, like mind reading technology and all this type of stuff. So, and clearly the military has, well, they had the internet before we had it, before it was released to the public years in advance. So the technology that, the different nations around the world possess is far in advance of anything that we've got our hands on right now. So, I mean, something clearly is going on because like I sent you that video that was sent to me from Manchester in the northwest of England, where there's this, for people that haven't seen it, it's on my YouTube channel. I sent it to Norio. He had a look at it. It's not a particularly good video, but you can clearly see a disc-shaped object, which is a large object. So people are seeing things, but possibly it might be sort of holographic technology. Who knows? Like you've been saying previously, we don't really have any tangible evidence. I mean, I put a picture up. I'll just share it again for people, of Jesse Marcel. Obviously, we talked about um, Roswell, and like this picture here is apparently Jesse Marcel with this, from the apparently the crash site of Roswell. For those of you that are listening just on audio, you can have a look at the picture anyway if you go online and have a quick look. But basically what he's got in his hands just looks like tin foil. And obviously they're saying that this is a weather balloon, and then you've got the believers that are saying, "Oh no, that's just a cover up. That's not real. They retrieved, a disc." But no one's produced any evidence at all. They've not, no government around the world has wheeled out a flying saucer and said, "Yeah, we've got one," or whatever. And then, like you said about the congressional hearings, you've got these characters, like this David Grush and this Commander Favor, and then you've got these characters sat behind, like Jeremy Corbell, is it? And these guys are supposedly whistleblowers saying, "Oh yeah, we've got non-human technology," but basically he's never seen it, and apparently they've retrieved not only various non-human technology, items such as spacecraft or whatever you want to call them, but they've also got the pilots, which are obviously then basically the saying that they're non-human. But like you've been saying, nothing tangible has been produced. So for me, it's a conditioning process. That's my assessment of it, and that congressional hearing for me seems to be another step in that process. From sort of the Hollywood movies are conditioning us. I mean, I like science fiction. I've said this before. My listeners know this. I like science fiction. I used to watch the X-Files. I like Star Wars, things like that. I do like science fiction, but I can sort of see how they're conditioning people to accept, little green men from other planets. And I feel like, well, I believe that possibly these congressional hearings were part of that process, being stepped up, sort of being brought more into, let's say, the real world, because everyone else, even though there's this sort of subconscious conditioning through films, through Hollywood, this congressional hearing is obviously, I think, a stronger sort of conditioning, because now you're getting sort of real life people coming out and saying these things. I mean, what what's your take on them hearings? Do you do you just think these guys are just, they're just sort of front men being used to push a certain narrative?
Question about it. That's what I think. It's that these people, these characters, are being used for conditioning processes, as you said, exactly. And we are slowly being conditioned every year to certain things, believing in certain things, and belief in physical alien presence is one of those conditioning process. And I've studied the UFO phenomenon for many, many years, and yet even I myself have not seen anything that I could say was extraterrestrial. at all. And so, people claim things, and the reality to each person is different. And so, you know, perhaps that some governmental agencies can force an alternate reality to some people for some kind of a purpose, brainwashing. So, that I still keep that theory, keep open to that theory until the day comes when, if these entities really exist, then it will be them who will initiate the global disclosure of themselves. And yet it hasn't happened. And but that does not mean that they aren't here. Uh, Even non-physically. So who's to say, what, and as long as we keep our 2 feet on the ground and talk about this, I think it's good, because it makes us think, and that's what I'm interested in, people thinking instead of just taking everything for granted. And
Yeah.
we're living in this age of internet, and the internet is one of the most damaging source of, acquiring what some people believe to be reality. In fact, some people only believe in the internet, and but of course, there's so much good in this internet system and the information technology, but it has a good and a bad, you know, elements.
Yeah.
And so it's the discernment. I think everybody needs to have a good discernment in our mind to separate fake from reality. And so that is the eternal, study, eternal pursuit to distinguish between what is fake and what is real, or what is plausible. And so, uh, open mind, yes, we need an open mind in many ways, but yet we have to keep our feet on the ground at the same time. And that's my conclusion. And, I will continue to do the research. And if anything drastic happens, you'll be the first one, Paul, to be informed if I find anything drastic.
No, your advice is spot on, Norio. We do need to keep our feet on the ground. We need to acknowledge, yes, something's going on here. It's clearly some kind of deception. We don't know how it's really going to play out. I'd steer clear of the sensationalist and the dogmatic people who are saying this is what it is, you know, and people who claim that maybe they've seen, a flight, like actually seen one at some base or whatever. I'd steer clear of those types of people. And like you said, you're doing research. I always encourage people, do your own research. Don't take what me and Norio were saying, just at face value. We've looked into it. I've not been looking into it for as many years as Norio has, but my understanding of the phenomena has changed. And there's a lot of deception out there. There's a lot of misinformation. But one thing I would add is don't get too caught up with it. Put it in its proper place and spend time with your family, because time's very, very precious to all of us. It's our most precious commodity that God's given us. And I have said this before on here. And obviously, I do this podcast and I look into all kinds of topics, but I'm mindful as to not get sucked in, and just disappear down these rabbit holes. The UFO phenomena is fascinating, and like I said, earlier, I like science fiction, and I could easily get sucked in. But as I've got older, I have exercised self-discipline by the grace of God, and it is important to take time out, spend with your family. So, and number one, be praying. and reading the Bible and being in that first and foremost. And then when you've got time, do some research into the things that interest you. So Norio, it's been wonderful again speaking to you. And just before you go, just remind people about your website and also your YouTube channel, because you do put obviously videos on there quite regular.
Anybody can contact me simply by email, Norio Hayakawa at gmail.com, or you can look at my many of the articles I've written, uh, and it's at noriohayakawa.wordpress.com. And the latest article I posted recently is about a strange incident that took place in 1957 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It was one of those incidents where it's called Broken Arrow incident, in which, you know, almost had a, you know, um, very dangerous situation. And I have an article, the latest article is about the 1957 near doomsday incident that took place in Albuquerque, New Mexico, whereby the Air Force bomber plane, while landing on Kirkland Air Force Base, accidentally dropped a Mark 17 hydrogen bomb that came out of the bomb bay door. But fortunately, the mechanism to ignite that hydrogen bomb was not in the same area. It was a different part of the airplane, but we were spared this almost catastrophic incident in 1957. So people can read about that and just go to norihayakawa.wordpress.com and you can see everything. And so, anyway, thanks so much, Paul. It's always a great pleasure to be on your well-balanced show. I think you're one of the hosts that presents a very well-balanced view of things, and that's why I appreciate being on your program. Thank you so much, Paul.
No, it's a real pleasure, Norio, to have you on. And I would encourage people to read Norio's articles because he does have, he has an honest approach to this UFO phenomena, which not all researchers do, as Norio himself can probably testify to that. But Norio has an honest approach to it. And, he's got the years under his belt. He's put the time in. So, you deserve respect for that, Norio, anyway. So, guys, it's a fascinating topic to look into is the UFO phenomena. It's multifaceted. There's all kinds of sort of strands to it. You've got your crop circles. There's the cattle mutilation. Obviously, there's supposed crash retrievals. There's all kinds of things. But like I said, research it yourself. Don't spend too much time in it. Spend time with your family, spend time if you're a Christian praying, reading the Bible, and then do some research because it is an important topic and we are living in days of great deception, misinformation, lies. So thanks again, Norio. Guys, I'm going to be back, God willing, next week with a new guest. I'm Paul and this is Beyond the Paradigm.